Have you ever walked out of a mall, looked over a sea of cars, and drawn a complete blank about where you parked? That sudden, sinking feeling of confusion is way more common than people admit. Your mind is juggling errands, shopping lists, and a dozen other thoughts, and suddenly, your spatial memory just checks out. The good news is, there are simple, science-backed ways to remember exactly where you left your car, every single time. Today, we're going to explore why our brains forget parking spots so easily, and I'll share practical memory techniques that will make returning to your car quick, stress-free, and surprisingly reliable. So, why does this happen? Most of the time, forgetting your parking spot begins the moment you arrive. You slide into a space, grab your bags, lock the door, and your mind is already inside the mall. You're on autopilot. This prevents your brain from properly encoding the location. Encoding is that crucial first step where your brain takes in sensory details and stores them for later. When you're distracted or hurried, that encoding simply doesn't happen. Without that initial mental snapshot, your memory can't retrieve anything later because, well, no strong memory was ever formed in the first place. A crowded parking lot makes the situation even harder. Mall parking areas are often incredibly repetitive, identical rows, similar lamp posts, and long lines of cars that all blend together. This lack of distinctiveness overwhelms your spatial memory. When every row looks the same, your brain struggles to anchor itself to anything meaningful. It's like trying to find a specific grain of sand on a huge beach. Without something to differentiate one area from another, your memory fails to form a clear, retrievable mental map. Researchers who study this have found something fascinating. It's usually an all-or-nothing memory. Either you recall the location instantly and accurately, or the memory is just completely gone. It's not a slow fade, it's a sudden drop. That's because if the memory wasn't encoded clearly at the moment you parked, it never really existed in a stable form. This makes one thing crystal clear. You have to give your brain something to hold on to right when you park. One of the strongest strategies for remembering your parking spot is using distinctive landmarks. When you park, just pause for a few seconds. Look around. Find a unique feature, a certain store entrance, an unusually shaped tree, a colorful sign, or a specific architectural detail. Then, mentally connect your car's position to it. For example, tell yourself, my car is 2 rows to the left of the entrance with the big red awning. This contextual memory is far stronger than a vague sense of being somewhere in the middle. It gives your brain a solid anchor point to navigate from. Another powerful method is something called visual mnemonic imagery. This taps into your brain's love for vivid and usual pictures. Parking lots that use zone markers are a goldmine for these memory tricks. You can assign visuals to letters like A for apple, C for cat, and pair them with visuals for numbers. This helps you create a short parking story in your head. For example, if you parked in C7, you might imagine a cat lounging on a cloud in heaven. Your brain recalls images and stories far better than plain text or numbers. So, get creative. Your future self, who isn't wandering aimlessly, will thank you. Of course, there's also the simplest and most foolproof method of all. Use your smartphone. Taking a quick photo of your parked car and the surroundings gives you an instant, perfect reference later. This uses what psychologists call external memory tools that support or enhance your natural memory. There is absolutely no shame in relying on external aids. In many cases, they're far more reliable than trying to depend solely on your biological memory, especially on a busy day. You can even drop a pin in your map app. It takes 2 seconds and saves you a ton of potential frustration. Here's another great habit to build. Try parking in the same general area every time you visit a familiar mall. When you develop a parking routine, your brain forms a habit-based memory. This reduces the need for new encoding with each visit. You don't have to start from scratch every time. Instead, you just revisit an area that's already familiar to your memory. This minimizes confusion and makes it much easier to scan for your car. You'll instinctively know which direction to walk. A small but incredibly important technique is to simply take a deliberate moment to look back before you walk away. After you've locked your car, just stand still, turn around, and take in the full scene consciously. Notice the position of your car, the angle of the rows, nearby signs, storefronts, or building features. That brief pause of focused attention dramatically increases your recall later. I know it sounds simple, but many people find that once they consistently do this, the problem of forgetting their parking spot disappears almost completely. It also really helps to minimize distractions at the moment you're parking. If you're texting, talking to someone on the phone, or mentally planning your errands, your brain won't encode your location well. Spatial memory requires attention. Even a 5-second pause, a moment of mindfulness, can make all the difference between remembering effortlessly and wandering around clicking your key fob in frustration. Now, even with all these techniques, there will be days when your memory just fails. It happens. It doesn't mean you're getting old or that something is wrong with your brain. It usually just means the memory never fully formed in the first place because you were distracted. On those days, those external aids we talked about, photos, notes, or even a quick voice memo like "I am parked in row green 4" can be a real lifesaver. When you turn these techniques into habits, choosing a landmark, creating a quick visual mnemonic, taking a photo, sticking to consistent parking zones, and giving yourself that final look back, you create a reliable system. Over time, these habits strengthen your brain's ability to encode and retrieve parking memories automatically, no matter how crowded or chaotic the parking lot is. Ultimately, remembering where you parked has less to do with having a good memory and more to do with using smart strategies. Memory isn't about innate talent. It's about giving your brain clear cues, patterns, and images that stick. Once you adopt these simple techniques, the stress and frustration of losing your car in a giant parking lot will become a thing of the past. You'll be walking back to your car with confidence, speed, and a nice sense of control. Try these out next time you're at the mall, and let me know in the comments which trick works best for you. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tips. See you next time.